Hey, it's Heather with Salty Vibes. Thanks for joining me this week on this week's podcast. Um, I guess today I'm just going to talk about running away. Um, if you have ever looked at the Power Wheel or the Trauma Grief Wheel, there's a couple of different worksheets in that, and I'm going to try to get those uploaded into my Substack when I share some of the trauma stuff. Still trying to figure that program out. But we kind of have the different, I've talked about it, the fight or flight, we have fawn, the different things that we deal with when we've gone through trauma stuff. And some of it is running away. And I had to leave the state I was in for 24 years. I grew up in Washington and then lived in Alaska for 24 years. And I came back to my hometown again. Was not really where I was planning to be. I never thought I would live back in the small town where I grew up and graduate from high school and, reconnect with so many people. And, I went to my 30-year, wasn't technically the high school I graduated from, but I went to the 30-year high school reunion where I grew up in the town I grew up with. And I went to that school all through elementary and middle school. And then in high school, I left and just drove to the high school like 15 minutes away and graduated from there. I'm still best friends with two of the ladies that I went to school with. Two of my really good friends, besties. I call them my Kalima besties. I've known them for a long time. So they asked me to come, and it was really fun reconnecting with people. And but again, I kind of thought about like running. And last year, I'd bought a house. And when I first moved back to my hometown, I was going to live with my friend, and then my aunt and uncle offered me to live with them. So I kind of had a more sturdy place to stay. Because my daughter wanted to come down and stuff. So we both stayed with them. And, uh, I was like trying to sell my house in Alaska. And then I was like, do I buy a condo? I was looking at all these different things. Like, what do I do? I want to move to Arizona. And then I did a road trip, and I kind of was seeing someone that I'd known for a long time, and I was going down to Arizona and thinking like, okay, well, maybe I want to live here because I have my brother here and I have friends that have vacation homes, and but the summers are like super hot. So I was like, well, it wasn't exactly where I wanted to be 100% of the time. And then just the way things fell into place, which I feel like was a God thing, and also I'm still confused by it, but it's the way it was supposed to be. I bought my house sold, and I got the opportunity to buy a house from family. So I bought the house, and it's super cute. It's a little ranch style home, and I've lived in it for a year and a half now. Um, Fixed it up. It was 1950s, had a little remodel done in the 70s, but when I moved in, I updated it and made it more modern with some paint, ripping out the carpets, that type of stuff. But it's been a process. So last summer, I got a couple job offers to possibly move to California because I kind of was still open to the idea of like, well, maybe I'll move. And my best friend wanted me to move to Bend, where she lives, and I go to Bend a lot, and I love it there. I absolutely love it there. I feel like there's a lot to do, but I was like, well, I got my real estate license in Washington, then I have to redo it in Oregon. And there's a bunch of her friends are real estate agents. And I was like, I'm going to be in competition. And I'm trying to build my career here. And so just, it didn't feel right. I saw my daughter at home, and um, I got the job opportunity to go to California, and I was thinking about taking it. But then I was like, I thought when I processed through all this stuff, there was this part of me that was like, are you just trying to run again? In the back of my head, yes. I kind of wanted to run again because I wasn't 100% feeling comfortable with the decisions that I made. So like, this is not really where I thought it was. I honestly thought I was going to like live in Hawaii on this little beach house and watch the ocean every day. I mean, I didn't really know, but I thought after I get divorced, I can do whatever I want. You get to, but you still, like, I still have kids, and I want to be there for them, and I want to have access to family. I also, like, when I was moving, there was all these like, I could go anywhere. I can, you know, not have to worry about anything and take care of. That's not totally 100% realistic. in my mind, that sounded amazing and wonderful. And I would love to just shut myself off from everybody. But realistically, for like who I am, no. And I love family and I love friends and I love having people around that are close to me. I love my quiet time, but I also love interaction and community and people. And I think, you know, God wants us to have that. Relationships are really important. When you cut yourself off and isolate and get away from that and you don't have people, it's very lonely. And then you learn to not need anybody or have anybody. And if you ever watched that Into the Wild, my oldest absolutely loved it because he wanted to run off in the middle of nowhere and not have anybody. But even at the end of that movie, um, the guy, Christopher, can't remember his name, but um, even when he was dying because he ate the wrong plant, he couldn't feed himself and everything was going wrong. In the end, he even wrote, it's people, human connection. Um, his name was Christopher McCandless. Uh, he wanted to do a life journey, and he burned his money and got rid of all his stuff after he'd gone to college, and he wanted the freedom to do whatever. And I kind of was in that same mindset. But I think when you go through trauma and you go through hard life stuff, sometimes that seems really easy to just cut yourself off and I don't want to commit to anything because then I don't have to let anybody down. I don't want to commit to anything because then I don't have to fail. Um, fail. Me and my kids have a big problem being afraid to fail. So running away is an easy thing to do, especially when you have been through things, when you have been through abuse. I do think, or, emotional abuse, I think a lot of people feel that way, like fight or flight. I want to fight. I want to run. I want to get out of here. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to shut down. And I've gotten better this year to not do that. But last year I was still feeling that way. Like I just wanted to go. I just wanted to be gone. And now this year I have definitely been going through a lot of growth, especially the last, I feel like 5-6 months. Um, and sometimes I'm like, God, I really don't want any more tests. I feel like I've been through enough, but there's still things in me that I need to grow and learn and be better from. And what do I really want? And it's learning, like, I'm okay to just be home. I don't have to run. I don't have to get away from the problem where a situation I can sit in it and I can feel the emotion. And being alone a lot right now, I'm learning that, learning to feel it. And so I don't want to run away anymore like I used to. There are still some tendencies where I feel like running would be a really nice option. I had one, just the other day where it kind of felt like I wanted to, but I can come back a lot quicker from that thought, that feeling, and I'm happy where I am. I still wonder sometimes, like, why am I here? Why is this where I ended up after my divorce? Why is this? Um, but I'm so like, I had my aunt and my cousins and my little cousins come over and we did a girls' night and it was just really fun. And I think those are the moments where I look, this is why. This is why I don't want to run. This is why I'm here, and it's like reconnecting with friends and going to my 30-year high school reunion where I didn't actually graduate, but still like people like loving me and like, oh my gosh, you might as well have graduated with us. You lived in the same town until, you did graduate. And so those are just like my thoughts today. I'm sure a lot of people have that, especially if you've gone through trauma or you have any type of like CPTSD. And June is CPTSD Awareness Month. You don't know what that is. It's a complex PTSD, and it's almost like we get that what people who've been in war and when you've gone through emotional abuse or physical abuse, any type of that, or been married to somebody who was controlling and narcissistic. Um, and then you've been through multiple things, you carry that PTSD, and it's like a weird thing, but a lot of therapists and coaches are starting to deal with it, and they can, get EMDR, and I think some stuff where we're like, oh, we have trauma. Everybody has childhood trauma. Like, how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to work through it? How are we going to fix it? And a lot of it is just talking and finding good support groups, reading books that help in that area, and sitting and stop trying to distract yourself with maybe things that you're trying to numb your brain with, and just, because I feel like back in the day, like, I'm gonna sound like an old person today, but back in the day, we didn't deal with a lot of the stuff the kids have to deal with nowadays. And I think that is creating a lot of more issues with mental stuff. And also, if you've ever heard of the generational trauma, it gets brought down from generation to generation to generation. And now it's being talked about, it's being brought to light. So I think we know a lot more about it, with social media, and there's more therapy and counselors and stuff actually talking about it. So now it's kind of coming to light. Um, so if you are in any of that, um, definitely getting in with like a trauma grief coach or counselor, any type of therapist that has had training in trauma and grief is really important, because not all of them have. They need to know the right tools and things to help you in that area. So, um, if you're looking for, like, if you have been in a abusive marriage where you've had to deal with adultery, or any type of infidelity, anything like that, check out Stronger Co. She's based on Montana. She's a nonprofit. Everything's paid for. She has great tools and books, videos, all kinds of things that can help you. She has group, like 6-week groups with a couple other women you can do, where you kind of have that talk with other women that are going through a lot of the same things with you. Super helpful. It helped me when I was going through my divorce, my separation. My therapist helped as well. But, if you do ever feel like running and you've been through any of this stuff, and sometimes maybe you haven't been through it and you still feel like running, it's perfectly normal. And even at my age, I'm in my midlife, and, my kids are grown, and I am single and kind of restarting my life. And sometimes I wonder if I am making the right decisions, because I'm not used to making them, and I'm hard on myself and I'm afraid to fail. And so, like, oh, well, if I just run and give up, then it'll be okay. And I have to sometimes force myself to sit in it and be like, nope, this is where you're at right now. And it's really hard. And sometimes it sucks, but you're going to get through it, and it's going to be okay. And so I put a timeline on some things, like my real estate business. It's not my number one thing that I love. It's the career I've chosen for right now. I'm renewing my license, and I decided, okay, I'm putting a goal. If I don't still love it in 2 years, then I need to move and try something different. And I don't think we're ever too old to change our career. I mean, sometimes I feel like God puts us on a path, and this is where you're at right now. And then sometimes it's like, okay, we'll redirect. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know maybe old school people maybe disagree with that. But if you're unhappy, you hate where you're at, or you hate what you're doing, why be miserable for the rest of our life? We get one life. That's it. But you also have to realize, like, okay, is this me just trying to run away? Or is this me like absolutely hating it because this is not really what I want to do? And those are things that I still struggle with, because sometimes I think I'm still in the runaway mode a little bit. That's why I'm putting a timeline on things. So, just my thoughts for today. Again, if you looking for a coach, I would love to help you get to that next level in life. I work with women in midlife. Maybe you've gone through a divorce, or you can still be married, but your kids have grown up, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? And maybe you have been through trauma and grief. I can do both. But my business is breakthrough coaching to help you get to that next level, to create a life that you love. Like, that's been my journey, is like, I want to love my life. I want to wake up in the morning and be grateful and thankful, and be like, I love today. And um, I think a lot of people live in misery, and life's too short, and God made this beautiful life for us. We don't need to live in misery. So I would love to help you. I would absolutely love to help you. You can click any of my links below. I can do a 30-minute consultation. I can meet with you for coffee and just talk. You need someone to listen to, vent, whatever. Um, I love coffee talk. So thank you for listening to me this week, and I will be again here again next week.